we will start off with a bit of introduction. So tell
hmm
us a bit about who you are, what you do on a day-to-day basis, and sort of what sports do you play, and anything that you like to share about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Ellie. I'm 33 years old, based in Melbourne, Australia. I am a full-time video production producer, so I make videos for a living, get to make really cool creative things. And I'm also a fitness fanatic. So I've always been into sports since I was very little. I've played basketball all my life. I've done footy, so AFL rules when I was younger.
Mhm.
Lots of strength training. And I've recently got into running maybe in the last 12 to 24 months. So, yeah, I've been doing a couple of races. And I have a pretty hectic life in general, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So I since like a year ago maybe is where we first connected, and I know that since then you were already very active in the sports that you play. You were working full time as well, and you were doing all these sports. You were taking your sort of fitness very seriously. You've been always training with structure. That's what you have been telling me at least. But what were some of the struggle that you were facing before we started working together?
Yeah, well, I always struggle with trying to do too much, everything and anything, all at once.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing that I really struggled with was how to structure all my all my activities as well as strength training and making sure I have a good balance because a lot of the times I would just overtrain.
Mhm.
So I would train hard. I don't have an issue with training hard, but I wouldn't necessarily train smart. So I really love structure. I really love the programs that you would do. When I initially reached out to you 12 months ago, I did a program and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't just the challenge, but it actually was fun to do something different.
Mhm.
And that really piqued my interest in diving a little bit deeper in actual exercises and specific exercises for my sport, which is something that I've never trained for. I've just kind of
Mhm.
looked at what everyone else is doing and be like, sure, that's something that I could do. So
Yeah.
not really having much structure. So yeah, the
Mhm.
biggest struggle I had was not really knowing what to do that works for me. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So structure is a huge thing. And how did sort of that overtraining, that mindset of having to go hard every single time and doing more means more, how did that approach sort of impacted your performance?
I felt that I was burning out pretty regularly.
Mhm.
And I'd be tired a lot more. And I felt like if I didn't train hard, that my workouts weren't worth it.
Mhm.
So it's been a bit of a retraining of my brain and
Yep.
mindset
Mhm.
of that training smart side of things.
Mhm.
Um, but just getting up and going to the gym and actually just doing a routine because it's actually good for movement or mobility is something
Mhm.
that is new to me. But I've definitely found it's really improved just how I play and also specifically my running as well. Like speed focus is something that
Mhm.
I've never focused on ever,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I've definitely noticed a huge difference in my races from last year, 12 months, I've knocked 20
Mhm.
minutes off my race time, which is awesome. And
Well,
I'm sure
and
this
in
is
which event is that?
half marathon. So
Half
I
an
ran
20 minutes. Wow.
2 hours and 3 minutes in my first race
Mhm.
and then 12 months apart, I ended up doing an hour and 49, which completely shocked me. And it
Yeah.
felt
Mhm.
easy. I mean, like it was hard, but I felt like the form that I was going, like the movement and stuff was a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Now that's awesome at 20 minutes, and you have your next race coming up next week. So let's see how much more time that we actually shave off.
I mean, next race has got a few more hills than the first one, but
Mhm.
I'm going into it with a little bit more like anything's kind of possible to knock that time off. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
excited.
for sure. Yeah. And the biggest changes that you have noticed since we started working together, maybe not just 12 months ago, but recently that we actually started working more closely. Because I think 12 months ago, where we just grabbed a program on my store, but now that we started working more towards one-on-one, what are some of the bigger changes that you have noticed? Not just in sports, it could be just in general. How do you feel?
Um, well, there's kind of two parts to this. I mean, specifically the plyometric side of things. I
Mhm.
mean, when we first started and we did those tests, I felt like it was kind of embarrassing to see
Mhm.
how much I could not jump.
Mhm.
So being able to see the progress of that every week has been really, fulfilling and more fulfilling than I thought. So that was really fun to be like, oh, I actually can jump if I learn the right technique of doing it and really kind of starting small and building up over time.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, believe that I've just been more aligned with focusing on specific routines and movements rather than just trying to do everything all at once, like I mentioned at the start. So
Mhm.
uh, just rinse and repeat certain things and then finding the progress in those
Mhm.
movements.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And for people who are watching, since that you have been training with me, you have been trying out my program for a bit, maybe share a bit about like what you have learned with this style of training. It could be just one or two things that you have learned through sort of working with me and just in general how to structure your workouts. How do you program the exercises? How do you perform the exercise? How do you progress the exercise? Sort of anything that you have learned that you can share if someone were to come forward and ask, how do I train like an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, the building blocks of like it's not just a push and pull or upper body and lower body, like it's
Hmm.
actually like how am I planning out my weeks for runs and when is my game place? Because I play on a Tuesday, so it's not really sometimes I was a little bit unsure with like, all right, well, how can I plan my lower body exercises or my upper body exercises, which also is not going to deter from my speed focus days. So it was like just being able to take the thinking out of it and give it to someone that actually knows what they're talking about made a
Hmm.
huge difference. And it also, I just have to show up and I have to just put in the work, do
Hmm.
the routines. And then also, I would send you the videos of what I was doing and things that
Hmm.
I think that I was doing right. You would give me
Hmm.
feedback, just small, tiny little tweaks
Hmm.
that I would then go fix the following week and seeing that progress. So
Hmm.
it's just like it's not like big things. It's just like
Hmm.
little things that have just been stacking up over time.
Hmm.
Um, which if I was doing it independently, I don't believe that I would get the same outcome.
Hmm.
So having someone be getting a second opinion as well, because I could be looking back at these videos and I'm like, yeah, this looks right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes it's not always correct. So, and form and technique, and I've learned this over the many years of training and stuff, is it's such a bigger important thing than how much weight you can lift.
Hmm.
And also another thing that I've learned is it's not how much you're lifting, it's how you're lifting it. And
Yeah,
like that's
for sure.
that's
Hmm.
a big shift that I've had is like I see other people kind of training like that, and it's
Hmm.
like I have the understanding now that I'm like maybe bring back the weight because you're not getting actually the benefit of that particular exercise that you're doing.
Hmm.
So I'm getting educated along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is basically the sort of overview of one-on-one coaching, right? A lot of people think that it's just a program, and as well as I think a lot of people just copying exercises online with asking people what exercises to do and things like that. But again, like what you said, it's not just about the type of exercises that you do, but how you perform as well. And
Yeah, I mean, it's so oversaturated now online, and it's like, I mean, I'm guilty of this seeing a fancy new plan and that
Mhm.
looks great temporarily, but it may not actually work for like what I'm doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And plus, again, I might be doing the exercise, but it might not be completely accurate. So just having a second opinion and someone to direct you in
Mhm.
that way of what you need to do has been really important.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know previously that you mentioned that you like to try out different program as well. You have been always someone who likes structure, so you were someone who always follow different program, right? So what are some of the differences that you notice with the program that I write as well as the program that you have done previously?
I mean, the programs that I've done recently, I mean, previous to this
Mhm.
is, I mean, just a stock standard program, like 12-week program, which I think is great.
Mhm.
You learn about the phases, well, you do different phases, 4-week
Mhm.
phases, but it's actually sometimes a little bit overwhelming because there might be too many days or it doesn't actually factor in everything else that you do.
Mhm.
And then also because I've been doing quite a few races during our one-on-one,
Mhm.
you adapted my programs based on that. So, like, for instance, my race is next week. So, you're going to adjust my program next week so that I'm not, I don't have such high volume and that doesn't gas me out for my
Mhm.
race on Sunday. And
Yep.
then kind of like, well, this is what I've learned from my last race with you is just
Mhm.
the recovery after my race as well. So, it's also like, sometimes I actually find the hardest thing is when I've done a race is getting back into the gym and knowing what to do.
Mhm.
Um, so taking that thinking out of it has really helped. But if I did have another program, I might think that rushing back into this phase, which actually might even not be the right phase that I'm in, and I don't
Yeah.
know. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
still kind of learning
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's a struggle, isn't it? Especially like I remember after that race, you were moving house as well.
Oh
So
yes.
everything was just like chaos to you.
Oh yes, it was
Yeah.
pretty erratic, but I'm glad that I'm not moving
Yeah,
after this.
yeah, for sure. And we'll look into the next phase shortly after this call. But just one last question, which is what would you say to someone who maybe an athlete who's thinking about joining a program, about thinking about working with a coach? What would you advise them?
I think you can always grow from having a coach. And the biggest thing is I've learned is even coaches have coaches. It's
Hmm.
like I think you need to be constantly learning yourself. And I've benefited from it, and I'm not even a professional athlete. So I
Hmm.
imagine if you are actually a proper athlete, that you're going to get way more out of it as well
Hmm.
than I would.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Thanks, Ali. Thanks for
Oh,
the answer. I really appreciate your time.
no worries.